Why be easy when you can just die? Woo! Wow! I'm Chewy Mew. Welcome to my channel. More specifically, welcome to another Chewy Mew video, where today we're going to be taking a look at a figure that I've already kind of sort of taken a look at. And that is the ToyBiz Spider-Man Classics Twist and Shoot Spider-Man. Or as people would actually call this, Spider-Man from the Spider-Man Unlimited cartoon. Yeah, that's where this figure is actually from. Alright, I'm back. I had to briefly do some stuff here and there, and I had to move the camera for it. But yeah, so here's the figure. I did review this figure a while ago. I don't know how long ago it was. It was quite a while ago, back when I had the comic books here. Maybe like a year and a half ago, maybe? I don't know. And it got a bunch of views, I think. The way I got this figure was I got it on eBay because I made some video where I mentioned something. There was never a 6-inch scale Spider-Man Unlimited figure based off the cartoon. And then Spidey Fan 2002 and I started talking, and he's like, I could swear there was one. And then I managed to find one. And me being a sucker, if you've seen the past couple of videos, I'm a sucker, and I bought it. I bought this figure a while ago. And he actually came with this arm here. He didn't come with this cape. He didn't have yellow eyes either, spoilers, and he had this arm in this fixed position, which is stuck in the sword shooting position. I bought it used, and it didn't come with the missile that he shoots. He's supposed to come with the missile, and it's a rope tied to his hand, that when you press the missile, he shoots like a web line, and it's connected to his wrist, so it's supposed to be like he's shooting a web, and it's still attached to his costume, is kind of the implication here. And I did have a ToyBiz Black Suit Spider-Man figure, or no, the Hasbro Spider-Man Origins Black Costume Spider-Man figure, which is a re-release of this guy. You can see they look not really very similar. I was going to say they look kind of similar, but actually, never mind. No, they don't. The only similarity is they're both Spider-Man, they're both skinny. That's kind of the only real similarity. But I took the arm of the Hasbro Spider-Man Origins figure that I had. I took it off, boiled it and stuff, and then I popped it on here. And then I repainted it to match kind of the red. And I noticed on this figure, the red, I guess ToyBiz didn't try too hard on this figure because the red is kind of sloppy in parts. I was thinking of maybe eventually going and painting the red parts to not look so weird. I don't remember if in the review I showed that I made this cape. This is out of some, I don't even know what the intended use for this is, but it's some sort of like craft fabric material or something. I don't know. And then I cut it so that it's thinner, like thinner this way. And then I kind of drew a very sloppy web, sort of web lines on it, which are kind of coming off here. I took a piece of wire and I wrapped it around his neck. I also took a yellow Sharpie and I Sharpied the eyes to be yellow. The paint is kind of coming off here because that Sharpie marker is like 10 years old. So it's not the best quality. I don't want to paint them yellow because that way I could just get like a damp cloth wet and just like wipe it off. Because with paint, it's a little harder to get off in case I don't like the way it looks. But it's interesting how they gave Spider-Man yellow eyes in a completely different costume. And it's also weird how ToyBiz, they made so many toys for the 90s animated series. I mean, this is technically also from the 90s, but the ToyBiz 90s the Spider-Man 90s animated series, ToyBiz made so many figures. They had a bunch of spin-off lines. They even made figures that had nothing to do with the show. They made a Sandman who was not in the show. It led to a spin-off wave, including characters like Venom the Symbiote there, and a bunch of like the 90s waves that had nothing to do with like web splashers and stuff, but they were technically still part of the animated series. Kind of like this Spider-Man here. This image is actually of the superposable 90s Spider-Man figure by ToyBiz. Back when having like I think 15 points of articulation was considered a lot, until ToyBiz blew themselves out of the water with superposable figures like this. But yeah, so it's weird how they made a ton of figures from the 90s cartoon, but they didn't really make too many from Spider-Man Unlimited. They only made like a couple 90s figures. Like they made like I think a 10-inch scale. They made a regular 5-inch scale that had kind of a similar body to the rest of these Spider-Man 90s figures. The only one I have that is using the sort of Spider-Man body is Cyborg Spider-Man here, which looks pretty cool. I don't have any of the other 90s just regular costume Spider-Man figures. I think he used the same body as that. But ToyBiz decided, let's make a 6-inch scale version, which is really weird. They made a 6-inch scale version superposable of this guy, but not of the 90s animated series. There are 5-inch scale versions of the 90s animated series Spider-Man, but there's not like a full 6-inch scale superposable figure. There kind of is, but that's for a separate video in a way. But yeah, so this custom. But yeah, what I was saying is it's weird how they didn't make any more figures from the show. They didn't make like the weird Venom or Carnage. It's kind of weird how they didn't make too many toys for this. Or the MTV show either. Maybe there's like rights issues or something and they couldn't, I don't know, but they didn't make too many of those, of toys from this show or the MTV 2003 shows. It's kind of weird. As far as it goes, this custom does look good. Basically the only improvement, I mean, other than like the cape and the eyes painted, is that now he has like a superposable arm with like, you know, he had a bicep swivel, but now he has double jointed elbows, rotation at the glove, a hinge in the wrist, which is kind of tight on this figure, and then you can have like a fist and open hand and stuff. I didn't paint over this over the square here, and on this hand either. Oh, because I swapped both fists, because the other one, he has an open hand that is kind of like this, and then if you try bending the fingers, he does that, so it looks kind of weird. I'd rather just have two fists here, kind of like a sort of like open, relaxed kind of hand looking thing. The hinge on this one is a bit tighter, because this arm is actually his original arm. For some reason, his left arm was superposable, standard ToyBiz articulation, and then the right arm had, like I showed, the gimmick arm. It'd be cool if I could take these off without having to heat up the figure again. If I could just take these off and swap them so I could have like a flipping hand. It is locked in this position. All you can do is like rotate the bicep. But I think this was cool. And this guy has a pretty decent amount of posability. Let's go over articulation, you know, just for fun. He's able to look up all the way. He can look down, not really much. I mean, that's about as far down as he can goes. The arms go up all the way. They rotate all the way around. This one has a bicep swivel here. You have double jointed elbows. Let me move my camera back. Double jointed elbows. Rotation here at the in the start of his glove. You get a hinge in the wrist. And you can, like I showed, you can open the hands. On the original one, I think I actually have his original hand here. I do. This is what his original hand looks like. Where you can see, you do get like an open palm kind of look to it. And then you get like a fist that's not a very good fist. I swapped it too. The other reason I swapped it was because if you have this hand on, it makes this arm look really long. This arm is a little bit longer. It's hard to tell when he's standing like this. This arm is a bit longer, just because this arm is not intended for this body, so the proportions it's different arm length, you know. I was going to swap both arms, but I decided to keep just only one. And this hand made the arm look bigger, so the fingers look a little longer than this hand, so I swapped them for that reason. But you get the same joints, you just get like finger flapping, which isn't the most useful. Like, I think if it's like a fist or flipping, it's useful, but if it's just like this hand, that's a really weird kind of joint. This arm just had a bicep swivel here, but now, like I showed, does double joint elbow and stuff. The ab crunch goes forward this much. Not the best, but also not the worst. It goes back that much. Not the best, not the worst. Is the rotation here on the waist. And then ToyBiz started doing this weird thing in 2005. You can see here, it's 2005, where they started doing these weird legs that instead of just, you know, kicking forward, I don't have any ToyBiz figures, can you believe that? This guy here, instead of the legs kicking forward like this, I mean, these aren't ball-shaped, but, or no, let's use Black Suit Spider-Man, because his body's kind of similar. Instead of having the legs just kick forward like this, and do the splits like this, where the balls are completely level with the pelvis, they decided to do this where when you kick the leg, it rotates, so you got to rotate it back. And then when you do the splits, the balls are like drooping down more. I don't know why they started doing that. The only advantage I see with that is you can kick the legs back better, but also these legs are kind of loose. I had to put glue dots to tighten them. It's not ToyBiz's fault. It's old and been played with. Like this one, I got it brand new out of the box. None of the joints are loose. I mean, the ab crunch got kind of loose from me playing with it, but I mean, yeah, the ab joint is a little bit loose there, but that's kind of my fault for like, you know, if you bend the ab joint too extreme, you can get it loose, but if you bend it, you know, kind of normally, like, not just like, you know, grab it and twist it, it's not going to get loose on you. It does the ball joint right here, though. And you can't do the splits all the way, which is kind of unfortunate. You don't bend to the knee, which is, you know, perfect double bend, and then the foot goes all the way back, all the way up, and you have a really good ankle pivot there that honestly rivals Hasbro's ankle pivot. I was going to say double jointed elbow. But boom, there you go. That's how far you can do the splits with this figure using the butterfly, or not butterfly joints, what's it called, ankle pivot. Oh, and also I forgot to mention, he does have butterfly joints, which this one works. It goes back really good, and it goes forward. I mean, honestly, it doesn't go forward much, but it goes back a pretty good amount. This one goes forward debatably a little. Actually, no, they go forward about the same, and it goes back, but it has like this weird spring-loaded action that it kind of flicks back. But if you push it and you don't flick it, it stays back a little bit. But you know, that's kind of weird that they had that, because the gimmick arm has a button on it that you press. So I'm not really too sure why it has the like spring joint, butterfly joint. Maybe both of them are supposed to have it, and this one's broken or something. I don't know. I don't know why. I got it used, so I mean, who knows? But yeah, but it's weird how ToyBiz kind of made a Spider-Man Unlimited figure. They didn't call it that. They didn't mention this is from the cartoon. They just called this, like, I think, like, shooting twist or something. I don't know what they called it, but yeah, I've already reviewed this before, and I figured, you know, I made a custom of it, so let's review it again. Also, I did the customizing, I think, on a live stream where I boiled it and I painted it in front of, like, an audience of, like, 6 or 7 people, which is surprisingly good. You know, that's surprisingly good that people actually showed up to the live streams. I want to do more, but the problem is I don't really ever have, like, a good time or opportunity to do it. But, you know, if I could do it more often, I totally would. You know, even if it's live streaming to, like, 2 people even. 1 person would be kind of unfortunate, but even if I'm streaming to, like, 2 people, that would be pretty impressive, you know? But yeah, so that's pretty much all for this video. Let me think about this figure. Let me think about my custom, which is, it's pretty simplistic. Also, if there's a way I could do it without affecting the articulation too much, I'd find a way to add his shoulder pads. Maybe paint the face, like, black. Like, you know, like, in the show, it's kind of cell shading. Like, half of his face is always kind of black. Like, the eyes are surrounded with black. So you can see, like, his head is red. That rhymes. I'm a poet, didn't even know it. But the mask, most of the face looks black, which is kind of weird. And then if there's a way I could add the shoulder pads, I would. But any way I would add them would probably affect the articulation. Because, you know, when you move the arms up, the shoulder pads would block them like this, you know. So, but either way, that's all for this video. Let me just think about this figure, and I'll see you guys in the next review.